first by talking about the chemical seed treatment billet planting study we put out in 2019, both at the ARS farm in Schriever and also the Sugar Research Station at St. Gabriel. The primary chemicals that we looked at this year included Top Guard Terra, which is flutrifol, which is a fungicide we haven't used a lot in Louisiana, probably more use in Florida. Quilt XL is pretty common with azoxystrobin and propiconazole. Prevathon and Platinum were two insecticides the chemical companies continually want to include, primarily because of the interaction that we see with the fungicide. And also Toggle is a biostimulant, a natural product that we included at the test in Schriever. And with these tests, we usually cut the billets, we segregate them out, so we're using the best seed we can get. We dip treat these to guarantee uniform coverage, and then we hand plant them at a relatively light rate. Usually keep these methods fairly consistent between each site and also across years. For these tests, we again use 540 and the 24-inch seed billets at a 2 running billet rate, and we also included untreated whole stalks at a 2 stalk rate with 4 applications at each chemical dip treatment. And these are the ones we used in Schriever, where we had a top guard plus a low rate of Prevathon and a high rate of Prevathon. The Cadillac treatment with Top Guard, Platinum, and Quilt, and the maybe that one's in there twice. And then Toggle at a 1% solution. These tests were combine harvested with the weigh wagon to collect billet samples. The first results I want to talk about are from the test in Schriever, where statistically we didn't see any difference in any of the treatments. If you look at the right side of the graph, those are the treatments that include a fungicide and an insecticide, and you can sort of see a trend of an increased yield on that side. The reason why the statistics didn't really support that is we have quite a bit of variability, as in 2 to 3 of the replications would show a really nice yield response and the remainder wouldn't, and that's why those standard deviation bars are quite high on some of those. With TRS or sucrose per ton, we really didn't see any difference at Schriever this year across the board. Part of this was just because it was a really good crop this year. I think that could have been shading some of the treatments. Combining those two, looking at sucrose per ton, again, we see on the right side of the graph, we see a trend of increase, but again, the statistics really didn't support it. Most likely, the increased amount of variability just didn't result in the statistics picking up those differences. A little bit different story if we look at the seed treatment test from St. Gabriel, that with the non-treated billets producing just as well as the chemical seed treatments. However, Top Guard plus Prevathon and Top Guard plus Platinum actually improved yields compared to the whole stalks in both tons per cane as well as pounds of sugar. So at least in this test, we had slightly less amount of variability, and that resulted in us seeing some beneficial aspects of these treatments. So the takeaway, the 2020 plant cane yields were high. That could have been shading some of the differences. Chemical seed treatments, at least at the USDA farm, suffered from some variability. We didn't see any significant differences between non-treated billets or whole stalks. However, at St. Gabriel, the fungicide plus insecticide combination that we usually see some improved yields, it did increase the yield compared to the non-treated whole stalks. Switching gears just a little bit to talk about a field test that we that we harvested this year, and this is in collaboration with Rich Johnson at Chris Gradwell's farm, where we took out Quilt XL as well as a cobalt solution provided by Stoller to look at treating some of this chopped cane before it's planted and comparing it to non-treated billets as well as whole stalks. So this was 299 that was planted last year in some fairly light soil. The billets were about 24 inches, and we spray treated these in 30 gallons of water. You can whole stalks were not treated and planted at about 3 in a lap. The Quilt XL was at 21 ounces per acre. The Cobalt was 1 pint per acre, and then we had a combination of Quilt XL and Cobalt. Looking at the two treatments, first the picture on the left, the planter that Chris was using was applying the chemical after the billets had fallen into the planting furrow. You can see one of the tip attachments in the just almost in the middle of the picture. There was also a few other tips, and it was hard to see if we got uniform treatment of this, but we were putting out 30 gallons, and if you were looking down the row as we were planting, it was a significant volume that was coating the billets as they were falling in the furrow. And another interesting aspect of this is we were almost able to plant 3 rows of treated billets at the same rate they were planting 1 row of the whole stalks. So again, the billets, it was really increasing the planting rate that we were able to accomplish. We're looking here at tons per acre, and statistically we didn't see a difference. However, again, yields were high across the board, and there was a little bit of a trend, particularly with the Quilt XL, to see an increase in tonnage. I believe it was about 3 tons per acre. And both the Cobalt and the Quilt XL plus Cobalt also numerically were higher than the controls, statistically not. But we're carrying this test over into first double thinking with 299 as it sometimes develops slower in plant cane that we may see some carryover. We did see an interesting impact in TRS, particularly with the Cobalt, that we actually picked up about 3 pounds per ton compared to the non-treated billets, and about 7 or 8 pounds per ton, I believe, compared to whole stalks, and the effect there was significant at the 5% level. Adding those two together, again, we see a general trend with the treatments to increase the sucrose per acre compared to the non-treated billets or the non-treated whole stalks. Fortunately, those statistics really didn't shake out this year. Again, the 2020 plant cane yields were high, and in years where we have a lot of yield, at least at the USDA farm, we usually see less of a significant impact of some of these treatments, with the idea that they're helping the billet cane overcome some of the negative abiotic effects that we see under years where it's too wet, too dry, too cold, just anything that would normally offset yield. We do not see any significant differences in cane or sugar yield between the whole stalks and the non-treated treated billets, and we're continuing this test in the stubble to observe any carryover effects that we have. We planted the 2020 chemical seed treatment study both at the USDA farm and also the Sugar Research Station this year, and included some different products Veltima and Revitec are two tech fungicide treatments, again including Quilt XL. Travapro, which is essentially Quilt XL along with benzo, bendiflupyr, Top Guard again, which the flutriafol seems to be a pretty good fungicide in some of these tests, as well as the two insecticides, Platinum and Triaxle. And we've also started looking at some cultural practices without chemical seed treatment. These are cultural practice tests that have been conducted on older varieties, and wanted to go back and conduct some of these on some of the newer varieties. So we planted a data planting test. We're looking at August, September, and October planting date, as well as looking at the rate of planting. For example, comparing 3-hole stalks to 3, 6, or 9 billets. We should have more information on that next year. So just wanted to thank Patrick Ellsworth, Alphonse Coco, and the other technicians and assistants that help with this work. FMC, Syngenta, BASF will provide the chemicals, and the American Sugarcane League for support. Now, I'll be happy to answer any questions today, or you can email me or call me at the contact information below. So thank you very much for your attention.